Hey, welcome back to Two Super Guys Trade Stocks. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Vinny.
And today we're going to look at, is AMD going to lead the next bull charge? Is it going to be the next Apple? Which I know, big statement. I know. Hold on. I've noticed some things while day trading, and it's been fairly fascinating, so we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to compare it to everyone else in the sector.
All right, looking forward to hearing about it. If you guys kind of enjoy this entertaining stock market content of two stupid guys trading stocks and messing up their words, by all means, give us a like and subscribe below. We'd love to have you
That's
along
what
this
she
little
said.
adventure of ours.
Two Stupid Guys Trade Stocks. All right. Do you know who that lady is?
Lisa Su.
She's
the
my
CEO
hero.
of AMD. Yeah, I mean, people say a lot of great things about her, and she is a good showman at the kind of the releases that they do. I am impressed by her stage presence.
One thing I will say, just to show you how bad mistakes can be, I called this stock at $3. Okay, I sold at 12 because I'm like, no way is this going to go higher that fast. It's my biggest regret ever. So big lesson for me there. We're going to take a look at something here. Vinny, do you know what relative strength is?
So it's when a stock performs better than its peers. Basically, is you're comparing it to the other basket of similar stocks. That's what you're talking about relative strength.
Fair enough, right? You look at, for instance, I'll say NVDA. NVIDIA is a competitor of AMD, right? You look at AMD intraday trading or even over the course of a week or a month, and they're usually doing better than NVIDIA or what have you, right? Mm-hmm. So what inspired this video is I day trade every morning, and I was always noticing that, when the Qs or the SPY are heavily down, everyone follows it. But if they're chopped or if they're kind of just steady, AMD is always up, while NVIDIA, MU, Apple, Qualcomm, whatever have you, are always down and not doing as well. I also noticed that on down days, AMD will hold its ground significantly more than other stocks, and it was very surprising because you would think it would be the opposite, right? I would
You're
think
basing
Apple.
it on like the multiple.
What's that?
You're basing it on compared to like the size of the company. That's what you're basing that on. That you would expect.
Not so much that previous growth versus how low their share price was compared to, like, let's say Apple. Like, I would expect Apple to have a higher relative strength than most other tech stocks because they're a little bit safer, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
All right. So this is going to be a little bit of an exercise for everyone, and Vinny. Vinny hasn't seen this.
No, I have not.
All right. So the chart here. Let me see if I can. Hold on. All right. Qs. This is the Qs, right? So this top corner, this is a 5-minute chart of the Qs tanking. So you would expect all stocks to tank with it. Okay? You would expect when you have this big giant bar, everything tech-wise is going to be done. These pink lines, using like trend lines, sort of, right? So if you're breaking trend lines, you're putting up more of a fight, all right? Now, which stock out of this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, do you think has the most relative strength, is fighting the trend the most?
See, it's tough. I'm between the one that's closest to you looks pretty good, but also the top middle one, because it was able to break through those trend lines, like you said. Ultimately, it sold off approximately a portion of the rest of
And
the
most of the
market.
time, when the Qs sell off hardcore, it doesn't matter how good you are. Everything goes down a certain percentage.
Yeah, but I would say that the one that's closest to you has like the best relative strength.
All right, so I'm really glad you said that. This one has incredibly low volume and doesn't trade as much. This one actually did worse for the day, but it happens way slower.
Interesting.
Okay. It has very low volume compared to everything else. So you're going, this guy's the best or this guy?
Okay, yeah. I would still, I would go that top one because that looks like it really broke through those trend lines.
That one's AMD.
Yeah, that's AMD.
All right. NVIDIA,
NVIDIA,
Apple,
Apple,
Intel, and Marvel, much lower volume.
Okay.
I actually had to, if you notice the chart's different because before that big drop, there's no candles, there's no volume. It was pre-market. So it was like dead. So most people are going to be saying, who cares about one day as a 5-minute trade, a 5-minute chart? That's not relative strength. Like, how are they going to lead the next bull charge? Valid. So the Qs. The Qs have had a decent little tank fest here since about April 1st, right?
Yeah.
So April 1st, tank fest. Here's the decline from April 1st per stock, all right? AMD, the left column here, this is direct competitors. The right is like kind of competitors sometimes, but not really, right? And their direct competitor list, they are destroying. NVIDIA's down 38, Intel's down 21, Marvel down 27, right? You not an Intel fan, Vinny?
No, I still own Intel. I actually trimmed back that position a little bit to buy some Google, but yeah, it's amazing a company with like a PE of 10 can still sell off 20%.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And then MU's sitting over here, 20, then 16. Apple's 21, pretty wild. QCOM and Texas Instruments are not really direct competitors, but I figured I'd throw it in here.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go long on a stock and you're in a hold, this is not a swing trade. This would be adding to your portfolio. You can't just look at chart. You want to also look at, financials, how the company's doing. A lot of times people get lost in new products, right? If you read AMD's presentation, it's like, oh my God, they have 1 million new products. And if you don't read NVIDIA or Intel, you're just going to think that AMD is coming out with all this stuff. Everyone does that. They all have new architectures, everything, right? So AMD, full year guidance. Now, in May, they said this in May, now expects revenue to be approximately $26.3 billion, an increase of 60% over 2021. That is absolutely disgusting. And then gross margin to be approximately 54, up from 51. This was from May. They just increased this again, like 4 days ago.
That's impressive. Very impressive, I must say.
Disgusting because you have on that chart, like 2021, 2020, these companies skyrocketed. So you're seeing like Netflix, for instance, went up. It's not a semiconductor company, right?
Yeah.
But they went up crazy, and then all of a sudden they're tanking because they can't match those numbers. All right, now here's your boy Intel. Let me move your face here. So NVIDIA stock took a beating after they did earnings because investors were not happy with the 4% lower expected revenue. They then attributed they're going to have less guidance, lower outlook due to Russian-Ukrainian conflict. They did blame supply chain a little bit. AMD has yet to say anything, by the way. They are still in the stance, no, we're not affected. We're actually doing better than ever, somehow. Okay. Intel, if you've ever read their presentation, it's more just paragraphs of excuses. So I didn't put a direct quote because the direct quote would have been 50 sentences. So
we delay everything several quarters after we actually were hoping to launch it, but we're still working on it. That as an Intel shareholder, that's true.
So I just did like a couple. I just said server chip pushed back 2024. The industry will continue to see challenges until 2024. Not for AMD though. They're apparently, I don't know, get their stuff somewhere else. Revenue decreased by 7, not that beautiful 60% increase by AMD, and then decreased Q2 guidance due to low PC demand. Later, Microsoft reports earnings saying that because their operating system is being used in so many new computers and the PC demand is high as it's been in 4 quarters or something. Great.
Yeah, that's despite Apple launching their new M2 chips, which will also help shrink the Windows-based PC market, which is kind of funny.
Oh, boy. So the argument against this is AMD has already gone up so much. So I took a 5-year percentage, all right? AMD is up 672% in 5 years. NVIDIA second at 303.
Oh, God.
Intel last at 13.
Oh yeah. It's turtle for sure.
So the problem is, if a company's up 670%, how can they possibly keep going? How can they possibly lead the next bull charge?
True. If the business fundamentals are growing fast enough to support that, though, then it is feasible. That it's still, you got to think about what is the current AMD market share of CPUs in general and GPUs. They're still not the leader. They're still taking market share from Intel and NVIDIA. So they still have room to grow within their own industry for sure. And, that would support a high growth rate.
Yes. So they will continue to have a high growth rate as, like, I think NVIDIA, I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. I think NVIDIA is like 85% of the GPU market, around there.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure.
They do take server and CPU share every single quarter from Intel, it seems like. To me, the biggest argument is Apple has been having gross increases for like 20 years, right?
Yeah.
AMD was tanking up until like 2014. They went from like $60 to $2. So I do believe AMD is going to lead the next charge, and I want everyone, when you see down days in the market, just to look at AMD's chart and compare it to NVIDIA, Intel, Apple. It's wild how much more of a fight they'll put up, and how they won't lose 5%. Everyone else will lose 5. They'll lose 3.9. They're somehow putting up a fight, and it's pretty wild to watch.
Interesting. I'd probably have to revisit AMD from a valuation basis based on discounted, projected future cash flow. Honestly, not a bad idea.
I think the last time you did that, their PE was like 110.
Okay.
I think it's 32 now, 34.
Yeah. That much more reasonable when you're growing 60% to have a 30 PE than it is to have a 120 PE.
And not only that, you're growing that much after you already had that giant increase from 2020, 21. Doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're doing it.
They're increasing their margins. Intel is actually shrinking their margins, which is another bullish sign for AMD. Which hey, credit where credit's due. That's very impressive. Intel has some things still on the reserve, like the GPU is to be coming out now in the fall, allegedly, but they still have their surge chips planned for 2024. I understand, but it's taken a lot longer for them to catch up in many aspects of the business.
Hey, Vinny. What price does AMD have to hit for you to own AMD long term?
There's definitely a number. I just don't know what it is off the top of my head. It would take me a little while to kind of arrive.
Let's say they're at 95.
Cash flows. Yeah. I just don't know. I would have to do an actual discounted cash flow and try to project out what I think they can grow to. Because 60% is not sustainable for very long either. That's a ridiculous number of growth. What are they going to grow next year? 30%? Maybe?
I'm going to say 70.
You have to continue haircutting that down.
I'm going to say they
grow even more next year. No, that's unusual. When you do this kind of cash flow of future projections, you kind of it can get slowly down. Think of approaching a line, asymptotic curve. That's the whole idea.
No,
for
sure.
Then you just grow with the industry. But.
That's what just happened to Netflix, and now they tanked and they're screwed. So. All right, guys. Let us know if you're interested in any of these stocks, and if you're long AMD. I am, full disclosure.
Yeah, and I'm long Intel, but full disclosure. Willing to be honest about beating it up. See you guys in the next one.
Later.